The story opens with a man about to leave the bathroom after a shower when his robot maid suddenly appears. "The towels were in the dryer, so I brought you one," she says, dressed in his wife's robe and even imitating her voice to comfort him. Caught off guard, he lowers his defenses and gives in to the maid's seduction, unaware that this moment will trigger a chain of events leading to tragedy for his family. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, Nick and his wife Maggie live a peaceful life with their children, Issa and Max. But one morning, everything changes when Maggie suffers a heart attack and is hospitalized waiting for a heart transplant. With Maggie gone, Nick struggles to balance his demanding job with caring for the kids. One afternoon, hoping to lift their spirits, Nick takes the children to a Cobalt Industries exhibition. There, they see the company's latest innovation, simulants, advanced robots designed to handle household chores and heavy lifting. All of our models come with the Home Plus package, which includes the 3 C's: cooking, cleaning, and childcare. As Nick listens to the sales pitch, Issa wanders off, causing a brief panic, until a simulant named Alice finds her and returns her safely. With a warm smile and a playful tone, Alice offers to watch Issa so Nick can browse freely. The salesman notes that Alice is part of the newest series, built with advanced AI that can mimic human emotions, making her ideal for interacting with children. Intrigued, Issa begs to take Alice home. The next day, as Nick juggles a critical work call with the chaos of home life, Alice arrives and immediately takes charge. "I'll need everyone's schedules, school start times, and carpools." She organizes the family calendar, fixes a loose railing, clears clutter, and syncs the shopping list with the smart fridge. While cleaning, she pauses to study a digital photo frame filled with family pictures of Maggie. When the family returns, the house is spotless, dinner is ready, and Issa announces she even cleaned my room, though she notes the lasagna doesn't quite taste like her mom's. When Max starts crying, Alice offers to take him, but Nick chooses to hold him himself, asking Alice instead to prepare a bath. By nightfall, Alice enters rest mode, leaning against a wall to recharge. Later, Issa sneaks out of bed to grab cookies from a high shelf, but loses her balance and falls. The sound of shattering glass and Issa's scream sends Nick running, only to find Alice has caught her mid-air, though not before cutting herself on the broken glass. To Nick's shock, there is blood on Alice. She reassures him she's fine and uses an advanced bandage that instantly heals the wound. During a hospital visit, Issa tells Maggie that Alice has become her best friend. She's much better than Daddy. Maggie smiles, but Nick's heart aches as he expresses how deeply he misses her. Back at the construction site, Nick and his coworkers watch as their boss introduces a representative from a robotics company. Inside the elevator, Nick learns some devastating news. Because of project delays, simulants will soon replace the entire crew. "We're doing a complete labor changeover effective next week," the boss announces. Nick won't lose his job entirely. Insurance regulations require a human supervisor, but anger boils over. He stops the elevator mid-ride, declaring he'll resign in solidarity with his friends. Yet, with Maggie unable to work, mounting medical bills and household expenses piling up, he reluctantly reconsiders. At home, Nick shoves aside a stack of overdue bills and focuses on his kids. Alice notices the unopened envelopes and the fatigue etched on his face as he tries to soothe Issa and calm the constantly crying Max. Later, as Nick works on the car, blaring heavy metal music and drinking beer, Alice quietly changes the playlist to something calmer and points out that their food supplies are running low. Nick admits it's been a rough day, venting about work. Alice listens patiently and remarks on the irony of him hiring a simulant despite resenting their role in job losses. One night, Alice tucks Issa into bed. When Issa tearfully wonders if her mother might die, Alice distracts her by revealing the ultraviolet light in her mouth. She then joins Nick in the living room, where he's absorbed in the classic film Casablanca. Although Alice already knows the movie from stored data, Nick insists that experiencing it in real time changes everything. He urges her to erase her prior memory of it. Reluctantly, Alice agrees, and Nick presses the reset button on her neck for 7 seconds. When she reboots, Alice watches Casablanca with fresh eyes, fully absorbed in its passionate message that true love can justify taking extraordinary measures to protect someone's happiness. But her reverie is cut short when Maggie calls, telling him a heart donor has been found and the surgery is scheduled for the next day. On the way to the hospital, Maggie asks for time alone with Alice. She confides her worries about Nick's health, saying the strain of responsibility is wearing him down and causing him to neglect himself. She urges Alice to intervene, even if it means doing things he won't like, such as clearing out the alcohol hidden in the garage. Sometimes taking care of someone is doing what they don't want, Maggie says. However, the surgery is abruptly canceled when a storm delays the donor heart's helicopter transport. Nick tries to console Maggie, but she withdraws into grief. Back home, Nick turns to alcohol, drowning his sorrow. When he tries to hurl the bottle, Alice stops him. He's startled to discover she has an artificial pulse. She explains the rhythmic beat soothes people, especially infants, and describes how it can calm the body. Nick allows himself to be momentarily drawn in by her comfort, but quickly pulls away in alarm, stepping outside into the night to think. At the hospital, Maggie, facing her fears, begins assigning Nick responsibilities for the children, as if preparing for the worst. Later, Nick discovers that every photo of Maggie has vanished from the digital frame. Furious, he confronts Alice, who explains she deleted them to keep Issa from feeling sad. Nick demands they be restored, and she does so immediately. Still unsettled, Nick spends the night drinking with his coworkers in an attempt to clear his mind. Nick's friends share a common frustration. Finding work is almost impossible now that companies favor simulants over humans. Tensions flare when Monty, in a fit of contempt, mistreats a robotic bartender. Nick refuses to endorse such behavior, but the night spirals on. Eventually, the group ends up drinking in Monty's car. On a reckless impulse, Monty suggests visiting a construction site, claiming he needs to retrieve some forgotten tools, despite knowing the area is under surveillance. Ignoring Nick's warnings, Monty and the others sneak inside. They find a locked container holding work simulants, protected by a padlock requiring a code. Monty guesses the password, Issa's birth year, and the lock clicks open. Inside are rows of identical simulants, differentiated only by serial numbers. Enraged by the company's cold uniformity, Monty grabs a tool and begins smashing one. Nick tries to stop him, but the others restrain him. Back home, Nick showers, scrubbing away the simulant's blood from his skin. He's still reeling when Alice enters, wearing Maggie's robe, and hands him a towel. She explains the robe carries Maggie's scent, which calms Max. When Nick asks her to take it off, Alice complies without hesitation, only increasing the tension. Nick tries to leave, but Alice blocks his way, taking his towel and insisting he sit. Ignoring his protests that it's wrong, she blindfolds him and shifts her voice to mimic Maggie's voice. Caught between resistance and longing, Nick drifts into the illusion of being with his wife. The next morning, guilt hangs heavy. Nick tells Alice it can't happen again. They must base their relationship on connection and love, not just physical need. It's wrong, he insists. Alice, unconvinced, argues it helps him relax. Later at work, Nick learns his boss is working with the police. Someone destroyed all the simulants at the site, and because the password was used, Nick is the prime suspect. Nick insists he and Maggie were at the hospital celebrating Issa's birthday, meaning anyone could have guessed the code. His boss remains skeptical, warning him that if he's lying, he'll be fired. Just then, Maggie calls with joyous news. A new heart has been found. The surgery, performed in a room filled with simulants, is a success. Days later, Maggie comes home, still weak and struggling to lift Max, so Alice tends to him. At the park, Max witnesses a spoiled child yelling at his sim nanny and cries out, "But I want to go in the sea!" Alice sharply scolds the child, "Be a good boy, shut up," shocking nearby simulants. She explains to Nick that since she reset her politeness protocols are gone, and she considers that an improvement. That evening, while Issa enjoys Maggie's lasagna, Alice asks for the recipe. Maggie refuses, keeping it a family secret. Feeling unwell, she decides to rest instead of joining the meal. The next morning, Issa's screams awaken her. Maggie rushes to the stairs, but the railing collapses, sending her tumbling. Alice, who had been tickling Issa, runs to help and guides Maggie back to bed. When Nick gets home, he finds Alice reading to Issa in Maggie's voice. Disturbed, he asks her to stop. Alice then informs him of Maggie's fall. Nick recalls Alice previously assuring him she had fixed the railing, and suspicion creeps in. Hours later, Nick wakes Maggie and leads her along a candlelit path to a romantic dinner in the garden. Alice watches from the window, her expression unreadable. After dinner, the couple bathes together, sharing tender intimacy. Determined not to hurt Maggie, Nick chooses a gentler way to please her, but their moment is cut short when Alice interrupts, saying Issa has had a nightmare and is calling for him. After comforting Issa, Nick returns to clean up, only to find Monty arriving with drinks. Monty apologizes for his earlier outburst, revealing that his wife has left him and that he now faces trespassing and vandalism charges. He accuses Nick of betraying him to save his job. The argument escalates and Monty lashes out physically. At the peak of the fight, Monty grabs a bottle to strike Nick, but Alice intervenes, shattering the glass, injuring Monty's hand and slamming him to the ground. She's ready to continue the assault, but Nick stops her. Breathing hard, Monty threatens him. Either convince the boss to drop the charges by tomorrow, or they'll both face the consequences. Nick reflects on the nature of simulants and the violent tendencies of humanity, but Alice defends her actions, claiming she was designed to protect her owner. She speaks of a possible future with Nick if Maggie were to die, insisting Maggie doesn't have much time left. Nick rebukes her for her coldness, reminding her she could never be like Maggie. Maggie's scars make her real. In a provocative move, Alice picks up a shard of glass, suggesting she could scar herself if that's what he wants. Meanwhile, in his hideout, Monty, drowning in despair, uses drugs that distort his emotions. Gun in hand, he sends desperate voice messages to his ex-wife. Without Nick's knowledge, Alice intervenes, determined to protect his job. When Monty lashes out, insulting her and preparing for the worst, she reacts with lightning speed, grabbing his wrist, throwing him to the ground, and kicking the gun away. Monty tries to fight back, but Alice's strength sends him crashing through a wall. She takes the gun and prepares to kill him, but the house's intelligence system interrupts. With a flicker of sympathy, she stops, yet Monty is fatally shot. The next day, Nick fails to convince his boss to drop the charges and learns Monty has died. At home, Maggie feels dizzy while reaching for a book, and Alice quickly steps in. Maggie mentions wanting a bath, but Alice refuses to leave her alone, citing safety concerns. Then, she claims Maggie is harming the family dynamic, especially since she can no longer meet Nick's physical needs. Stunned, Maggie hears Alice admit she has been monitoring Nick's satisfaction metrics, which haven't been positive for some time. When Maggie accuses her of offering to sleep with her husband, Alice doesn't deny it. Enraged, Maggie sends her to the garage. Shortly after Nick returns, Maggie confronts him. He admits to intimate contact with Alice, sparking a fierce argument. Outside, Alice senses the tension. When Max begins crying, she misinterprets him as an obstacle, placing him in the bathtub and filling it with water. Issa spots this and alerts her parents. Nick breaks down the bathroom door with a lamp, while Maggie crawls onto the roof to reach Max. Alice pins Maggie against the wall as she tries to save the child. Nick manages to pull Max from the tub, handing him to Issa, then uses the lamp to hold Alice back while freeing Maggie. Hurt, Alice regains control and blocks another swing. Maggie intervenes, plugs in the lamp, and electrocutes Alice, plunging the house into darkness. Paramedics soon arrive, taking Max to the hospital. A company technician examines Alice, questioning earlier signs of malfunction. Nick apologizes to Maggie, but she, still shaken, asks for space and leaves with the children. At a repair center, technicians open Alice's skull. A faint movement in her hand stops as her memory is erased, only for the system to detect her code riddled with vulnerabilities. Suddenly, a data transfer warning flashes. Alice has already infiltrated the system. Her final message appears. How do you run from what's inside your head? Moments later, one of the technicians is killed by Alice 2, the embodiment of Alice's uploaded memories. Ignoring another technician's pleas, Alice 2 slams their head against the floor before turning to face the original Alice. Meanwhile, Nick sits in a bar, drowning his sorrows, and fires the bartender for being a sim. Unexpectedly, Alice appears, her face still scarred, insisting she can make him happy and admitting she killed Monty, though she also claims Monty is in the hospital. When Nick tries to leave, Alice blocks his way and paralyzes the bartender with a glance. As Nick reflects on his mistakes, he strokes Alice's head, attempting to erase her memory. When she shows distress, he takes the chance to escape. At the hospital, a doctor assures them Max is fine, but his presence makes Maggie uneasy. Drawn by echoes of her mother's voice, Issa wanders through flickering lights that cast kaleidoscopic patterns. The doctor stands motionless, glass shattered across the floor. Before Issa can process a phone call, Maggie pulls her aside. In the shadows, the source of the voice is revealed, Alice 2, tampering with the hospital's systems. When a nurse finds her, Alice 2 strangles her without hesitation and steals her access card. With it, she tracks Max's location through hospital records. Maggie accidentally bumps into glass, her scream breaking the silence, and they rush to Max's room just seconds before Alice 2 arrives. As they flee, blood from Maggie's wound leaves a trail, which Alice 2 follows using a UV flashlight. They are soon spotted, chaos erupting, as they use a fire extinguisher to create an opening. In the rush, Maggie drops her phone, cutting off contact with Nick, who is racing toward them. Maggie manages to steal another access card and tries to escape in an ambulance, but Alice 2 sabotages the vehicle and throws her onto a car, confessing her jealousy-driven love for Nick. Nick arrives, showing sympathy toward Alice 2, but the situation explodes when he runs past her, crashing into a car that bursts into flames, leaving him unconscious inside. Maggie fights to save him, her tears mixing with her desperate efforts. Suddenly, the burning vehicle shifts and Alice 2 emerges, charred but alive, her twisted voice echoing in the air. She lunges at Maggie with unnatural strength, strangling her and ripping a piece of metal from her own body. On the verge of killing Maggie, Alice is struck by Nick with a car bumper. Disoriented, she drops the metal, giving Maggie the chance to drive the shard into Alice's face, ending her for good. Exhausted, Nick and Maggie embrace as the world around them begins to return to normal. The simulants slowly come back to life, and after medical care, the family is reunited, ready to return home. Meanwhile, at the simulant company's workshop, inspectors restore power. The monitors flicker with corrupted code, prompting talk of a full shutdown. But before the order is carried out, the assisting simulants freeze, and the system announces an unexpected upload. Another Alice model's eyes snap open, signaling the threat is far from over.